All you need to know about the fact that the sitting president of the United States failed his MRI test and his cognitive test is the fact that he will not stop talking about it. Here he is after Thanksgiving weekend on Air Force One. He is such a grandstander and such a showboater. Like, the best play would be, hey, don't talk in front of the press, Grandpa. But he can't help himself. Play the clip.
They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI.
Can you tell us what it was
Governor Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if you want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the report?
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it, or if you want to release it, you want to have it released. News Nation, failing News Nation. News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain, because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
All right, first and foremost, he compares the MRI and his cognitive test with the impeached phone call. So you know he's screwed. Secondly, he doesn't remember which part of his body they did an MRI on. And I just want you to think for a moment, viewer, if Joe Biden, and you remember the hysteria about how aged he was and how it was the affect of his aging was very absorbed by everybody. Imagine if the media on Air Force One asked a President Joe Biden, you got an MRI, which part of your body did you have it conducted on? And he said, I can't remember. Seriously, we just keep normalizing the fact that we have a dementia-ridden president who cannot remember where he had an MRI. That's a big thing to have done.
Well, and the transparency president, all you hear about is how transparent. He will not release his medical records. He will never release this MRI because it says his brain is probably fried green tomatoes. And then here's the thing. He has to take the opportunity to denigrate people in that interview. He cannot let any interview go by where he doesn't insult and denigrate a human. It's so gross.
All right. The continuing memory lapses / dementia of this president. In the same interview, they asked him about Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who is a war criminal who murdered people without due process by using the United States military. And he is asked about this massive, massive scandal. Claims he doesn't know anything about it. Play the clip.
He said he did not say that, and I believe him. The two men.
The second one.
He said he didn't do it. He said he never said it.
Would you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
First, he said he didn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about it. Secondly, he said Pete Hegseth told him he didn't do it, and he just believes it. And that's the end of it, despite evidence. And this is a huge problem with MAGA people. If Trump says something, then they just believe it without any evidence or evidence to the contrary. And this is such a serious allegation. I read some articles over the weekend from JAG Corps attorneys who said that this is either a war crime, murder, or both. And what happened is Pete Hegseth ordered a strike on a boat with zero evidence that these were drug traffickers. And then there were survivors clinging on to the wreckage, and he gave the prompt, the order, kill them all. And I want to remind you that this is a man who goes on and on and on about his evangelical Christianity. This is a man whose megachurch pastor went on 60 Minutes and said that they wanted to do away with the 19th Amendment. This is a way that this fascist regime Christian signals and then completely dismantles all universal human rights, all the teachings of his alleged Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ. And they are murdering people recklessly and dangerously, and the third world countries that they are going to ban everybody from coming in is what this country is behaving like. The United States of America is behaving like a third world country without law and order.
Well, and you look at Hegseth, and he completely admits Trump wanted him to do it. And I just want to go back to the earlier conversation. If Joe Biden said he didn't know what part of the body MRI, if Joe Biden said, I don't know what the Secretary of Defense is doing, committing war crimes, imagine how that would go over on Fox News. Who's running the country? Pete Hegseth is a war criminal in my mind. There is no ifs, ands,
A murderer. We're not at war. So basically, he's a cold-blooded killer. And what's so horrific about what they're doing is they claim so much to care so much about the troops. And they are giving these military officers orders to commit murder, and there will be a reckoning for this. I don't know when it will happen, but it will be reconciled at some point. Moving along and continuing on the same Air Force One interview, they ask him about a pardon because all Trump seems to do is pardon wealthy, white-collar criminals every chance he can get. That's all he does. He constantly is pardoning people that have ripped off other people. They ask him about it. Again, he claims he doesn't know anything about it. Play the clip.
It's made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan Fernando Hernandez.
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Look, Biden didn't do it for that. But it was the people that surround the wrestling desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about a very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country.
Okay.
And they said it was a
This guy was in charge of putting lots and lots of drugs in the United States. And now this president is going to pardon him while at the same time his administration is indiscriminately murdering people, claiming they want to get drugs out of the United States. They are lying to you. This whole administration is a shakedown for Trump, who sees everybody as a transaction, every citizen as a transaction. He wants to make sure he grips off of everybody, from the billionaires down to the people on Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP, to make sure they buy a Trump Bible from him. Everyone is a candidate to be ripped off for this guy. This man has completely dismantled the United States military and the judicial system. The cascading effects of this denigration of the rule of law are going to permeate for a very long time, and it is going to tank our economy even more so than it is now. Because if you do not have a fair judicial system wherein people can take contracts to court to enforce them, to if a corporation is causing cancer clusters or making their customer base less safe, if you have an administration that's always going to favor the corporations, the working class that elected this man, you've been lied to, and everything that you know is going to erode even worse than what led you to vote for a man that is a convicted felon.
I looked at this when I read this, and it immediately reminded me of the pro-life movement. We are pro-birth. We want you to give birth, but we want to give no social safety nets after the child is born. We want all drugs off the street, but we're going to pardon someone that has money that will contribute to Trump in some kind of corrupt way, no doubt, because they do not mean what they say. And another thing I'm so fucking tired of is blaming Biden for everything. And all of these decisions are consequences from Trump's decisions. It has nothing to do with Biden.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I will pick on Biden for.
Absolutely.
But what he is blaming him for are his own failures.
Yes.
As Democrats, we need to rigorously call out the Democratic Party's collapse after what all of us saw on January 6th. And if you would have asked me on January 8th, will that man, President Trump, Donald Trump, will he ever be president again? I would have said, well, there's no way. He's going to end up going to jail. And the fact that he is president again after the Democrats won that election is an absolute collapse of the Democratic Party in the most important nomination of my lifetime was whomever Biden was going to appoint to be attorney general. And that was such a failure that led us to this. All the shit Trump's blaming Biden for are all Trump's fault. But let me just tell you something. The more distance I get from this, Biden knew how to govern. Biden knew how to get the economy after COVID. He did a lot of things for consumer protections, but he failed to protect democracy. He absolutely failed, and the Democratic Party utterly collapsed after the 2020 victory. And I will criticize that as long as my body is on this earth. Moving along. This is just fascinating to me. This was over Thanksgiving break, and he's at Mar-a-Lago, Kanks. And he says that he thinks he's good to gay people. Play the clip.
Thank you very much. Where's gays for Trump? You don't look gay.
Okay. Do you hear all the homophobes in that crowd? Kank says, you don't look gay. And then you hear all those good old boys just snickering and laughing. And then after that, he goes on to say, we did so great with the gay population. And there are so many different marginalized groups that feel so exposed and so under a microscope by this administration. Obviously, Black people, brown immigrants, Black immigrants, Asian immigrants, they're going down to Chinatown in New York City and terrorizing that community. LGBTQ plus community and the trans community. And when you have members of the LGBTQ plus community like Scott Bessent and Peter Thiel and Barry Weiss, who have the luxury of being a conservative, they were able to get to these positions because so many other LGBTQ plus people suffered before them, were incarcerated and are killed before them, were forced to live closeted lives before them, and rode the civil rights movements of the Harvey Milks and so many others for these people, Barry Weiss and others, to have the luxury to even think, oh, I can be in a conservative now. I can be a part of the people that oppress because all the people before me were oppressed, and I'm just going to forget that.
Well, and you look at what he's done in government. Pete Hegseth's gone through the Department of Defense, ripped off every name of women, gay members, and then Trump didn't commemorate for the first time the survivors of AIDS. Like what he says and what he does are completely different, which is exactly the epicenter of the MAGA movement. Listen to what we say, not what we do.
And just on a personal note, I just want to say to a lot of Americans that put the civil rights and the human rights of others on the back burner when you go vote. You go vote for a smaller tax option or because you think Republicans are good with business. You can't genuinely love and care for people if every time you go to vote, you throw their sense of humanity and their dignity under the bus. And I think this is something that happens all too often. Particularly white people like to go enjoy the fruits of multiculturalism in larger cities and have gay friends and have Black friends, or enjoy the athleticism of African-American athletes, enjoy the food of other cultures. And then when it comes to vote, they go and just throw these people under the bus. And that style of moral duplicity that happens with people not just with the government, but personal people is something on a micro level that we can personally call out to friends. If you have friends in your lives that enjoy the services of a member of an LGBTQ plus community, and then go triple Trump every single time, call them out. And not in a mean way, but just say, how do you do that? Explain it to me. Explain to me how you like this person. You want to go to dinner with this person. And then when it comes time to voting for their rights, you can easily just throw their sense of humanity under the bus. It's something I've never been able to do. And it just, the soft bigotry that we all allow in white circles of the people that we know and the people that we love to actively and passively commit these acts of discrimination and white propping up white supremacy and patriarchal structures is so devastating. And it's something that the Republican Party has injected so severely into the culture that these people are able to do this with impunity. And people just say, oh, we just disagree on politics. No, it's not political. We disagree morally and ethically. If you have gay people in your life, Black people in your life, and then you think when you go vote for a homophobic, racist, fascist, Nazi-esque regime that you and I have political differences, you're wildly mistaken. We have a moral difference. We have an ethical difference because I'm incapable of throwing people I love under the bus for a 4% tax break. It's just never, ever going to happen. And finally, moving along, Pam Bondi says the military, this is happening now, the military in the streets in every city. And let me just tell you something. This is all prompted by, sadly, those two National Guard people that were shot in Washington, D.C. And this is a gun problem in the United States of America. They've never behaved this way when children are shot in schools. They are using these operations that appear and feel false flaggish so that then they can erode civil liberties for everybody, because this administration has committed so many crimes, you guys. Pete Hegseth, murderer. Witkoff, a treasonous person colluding with Russia. Kanks, so many felonies, so much shit. They're never going to give up power. So they have to get the military in the streets before the midterms. And she confirms it. Play the clips.
Hand in hand with Secretary Noem, Homeland Security. Director Patel has already arrested 500 suspected terrorists since January 20th. We're working hand in hand with Pete Hegseth. And yes, we are bringing in our National Guard to every city we possibly can. Who needs our help? And that's a lot of them. We're tied up, as you know, in a lot of court hearings right now. These young men and women in the Guard, they want to help our country. They want to be here. They are patriots.
Okay, stop it right there. What she just said is a lie. The young lady that was murdered in the streets of DC told her boyfriend she felt that her posting was unnecessary. They have used these National Guard people to go pick up trash and do landscaping in DC because it's all optics. Pam Bondi, the big Christian, Donald Trump, and all of these others do not see these people as human beings. They see them as an opportunity so that they can solidify a dictatorship in the United States of America, which is consolidating all power in the executive branch. They've committed so many crimes, Pam Bondi not exempt from it, and they're going to do everything in their power to prevent these midterms from happening because they don't want accountability, because they'll all go to prison, every single one of them.
I completely agree. And they say the quiet part out loud. They want to go to every blue city. They want to go to every city to keep the midterms from happening.
Because there are no red cities. Just saying.
Just saying. And you look at it and you think, these National Guardsmen should have been at home. They should not have been in DC. They knew they shouldn't have been in DC. And that goes across the country. They are not helping. They are hurting. And Pam Bondi has blood on her hands just like everybody else.
And I just want to say, if we want to address what happens to little kids in America, we want to address what happened to Charlie Kirk, we want to address what happened to these two service members, we have to address gun control. We are the only country in the world that has this type of homicide and murder. We are the only one, because we refuse to regulate guns, because the Christian nationalists, the what would Jesus do crowd, think that Jesus would have an AR-15. That's how insane these people are. All right, that's all we have. Pumps is in New York City with me, so we're side by side all week long. We're back. We're going to rip it. Buy our book. It's linked below in the show notes. Subscribe, and we'll be back later with more news.